there's really an indisputable law of the mind that is set forth in A Course in Miracles, and that is, as you see him, you will see yourself. And the reason for that is because it really is a projection, and even though it may look like there are billions of people out there, there's really just one of us.
There's God.
There's God, and then there's this one of us that thinks that it has separated itself from its source, which we will call the ego, which Buddhism and Hinduism also refers to as the ego. It's the idea of individual identity, but what we need to get back to is the fact that there's just one ego appearing as many.
But the thing that reincarnates, I would say would be the essence or spirit of the person. Like you said, this was a previous incarnation or future incarnation. What is that?
What it is that appears to incarnate,
Yes.
and I say appears because we don't actually incarnate. As I said, the body is a projection that's coming from the mind. It feels like we're in a body, but we're not really. That's a false experience. What we really are is the spirit, which is perfect. And that which appears here is actually caused by the ego. It's a separation idea that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with spirit. So I think people want to spiritualize the body, they want to spiritualize matter, the universe of time and space, yet anything that has any kind of a separation is not spirit. It's actually a manifestation coming from the ego.
So the ego, you're saying, is what appears to incarnate lifetime to lifetime? Would you say that?
Absolutely. In fact, people think, for example, that a baby is born innocent and kind of like is corrupted by the world and has all these things happen as a result of worldly forces. They don't understand that when a baby is born, it's an ego kind of like showing up, and the ego is already there. It's already intact, and or else they wouldn't have come here in the first place.
Right.
And then you have this ego kind of like act out and kind of like act itself out throughout a lifetime, and until it goes to the in-between life and then does the whole thing all over again. And the way to break that cycle, the way to break the cycle of birth and death is to switch over to a different interpretation of what you're seeing, which would be the Holy Spirit's interpretation instead of the ego's interpretation.
Which would be what?
The ego's interpretation would be that it's all real, that the body is real, that we're at the effect of it. It's all separation because that's what we see. And then, yes, we try to make that real, and so we try to spiritualize it and make it holy. And the real purpose of the ego, because we don't understand something about the ego, the ego likes this idea of separation.
It does,
the ego feels special, in being here and having an individual existence, where, on the other hand, the Holy Spirit would say, look, you're just spinning your wheels. This is a world that contains duality. So by definition, it doesn't just have abundance, it also has just as much scarcity. It doesn't just have beauty, it also has ugliness and death, where if you were to go home, kind of like Jesus' prodigal son, if you were to go home, you could return to your real home, which has no death, and which has no scarcity, and which has no suffering. And so it's really a choice that is, I think, an individual choice. It's not something that you can try to convince somebody of or get them to choose. It's something that they have to come to themselves, just like in Jesus' story there. When he came to himself, he realized that there was only one problem, and that was that he left the Father's house. And there's only one solution, and that's to go home. And if you choose to go home, then the Holy Spirit will show you how to go home.